And I think what also helps a lot is hearing how other people struggle. Because that is also, with imposter syndrome, you can so often feel alone. You feel like everyone around me is so smart, everyone knows what they're doing, and I'm the only one struggling. But hearing that someone else is also struggling, that makes it feel like, oh, okay, maybe this is just a normal, everyone feels this way.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Svava. Today we are at the Picnic office in Amsterdam and we are going to talk about mental health. My name is Meerte Wijsgede. I'm a psychologist at Open Up. And I'm curious, who are you?
Yes, so my name is Svava. I come from Iceland. I moved to the Netherlands 3 years ago to get a master's degree at the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam. And then 2 years ago I was hired at Picnic as an intern. I wrote my thesis with Picnic, and then I joined full-time as a backend developer a year ago. I work in the CS team, which means that we're responsible for the technology that our customer service agents use. So we work on all kinds of integrations with the system that they use, with the rest of the Picnic ecosystem. And of course, the system they use, we work on customizations and stuff that helps them do their work better.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, and since we are talking about mental health, what are specific topics or themes regarding mental health that are important in your daily life?
Yeah, so I can say right now I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
I feel pretty...
happy to hear.
Yeah. There's not much that I feel like I struggle with today, but there have definitely been things in the past which I've struggled with.
Do you want to share something?
Yes, I can do that. So for example, in the first year while I was an intern, I struggled quite a bit with imposter syndrome. So if you want me to explain that, I can.
I think it's very interesting for the audience to hear a bit more about it. But first I have some questions for you before we dive into the topic a little more.
Sounds good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have, a few questions or dilemmas I want to, pose for you, and want to ask you if you want to answer them.
Sounds good.
First one is, in these situations, I am less confident about myself.
Do you mean in situations like this here, or in work
in general? In life? Can be about work and your private life as well? Sometimes,
yeah. In specific areas. In some areas I am quite confident, but there can be some other areas where I feel less confident about my skills and how I'm gonna do.
And can you give me an example of such a situation?
So for example, this one is a bit weird because I don't really feel that I am less confident, but it turns out that I am not evaluating my skills correctly. So for example, we do half-year reviews. So twice a year we do a self-assessment, and then our team lead does the same assessment, and then we compare the answers. And in all of them, I've always rated myself lower than my supervisor. Yeah. So that indicates that, there are some things where I apparently am not evaluating myself fairly or correctly.
And this also relates to the imposter syndrome, I guess.
Definitely.
So we're going to dive into that deeper later on.
Yeah.
This is the biggest challenge I'm facing at work at the moment. ...
I think for now the biggest challenge I'm facing is that sometimes when I'm working from home, I have a harder time having the focus that I need, and it's a bit easier for me to kind of put off the things that I'm working on, or kind of take a bit more time on it, or like I feel like I'm not as able to get into the focus zone of, working straight for 2 hours and doing something productive. And instead I find myself veering off doing other things, going to get a snack, whatever. Yeah. But while I'm at work, it's for some reason easier to focus.
So you prefer also to work at the office I can
I
imagine.
do, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next one. True or false? Social media makes me insecure.
True, but not to such a great extent.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is a way for me to decompress mentally.
Well, hang out with my boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
do something physical, so either exercise or clean or do some crafting or something like that. So I do a lot of sewing. I really like doing that.
Nice.
Kind of helps me because I'm just focused on that, and then I don't need to think about anything else, and then it's easier to kind of
Switch off.
just switch off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for getting to know you a bit better by these questions.
Yeah.
But like I said before, I'm very curious about the imposter syndrome that you were talking about. Can you give a little explanation of, what you experience or what you experienced in the past?
Yeah.
Because it's, it's up to you.
Yeah. So for me, imposter syndrome is not just about feeling less confident about myself, but specifically that I feel like others think that I'm greater than I am. And then they're one day going to find out and something bad will happen. You know, I would lose my job or I would get a really negative review or something. So then, it's not just that I feel less confident in general, but more that this fear of someone finding out and some bad consequences from that.
Yeah. And you already gave an example of the review of yourself and the review your supervisor gave you. Can you tell me a bit more about how the situation went in the end?
Yeah. So for example, in my first review, which happened after about 4 or 5 months after I started, for those 4 months I had been really feeling this, like I felt like I was not up to the task of writing this thesis, or I was super afraid that they would give me a topic that I wouldn't be able to handle.
Yeah.
And then in my review, it turned out that, I sat down with my supervisor and one person from the people team, and we all looked at the results together, and they were both like, "So what's going on? Why are you so hard on yourself?"
Yeah.
And I was so shocked. I was just like, I thought I was being honest and fair. And I was just kind of shocked to hear that actually I had been doing quite a good job. And and then, like, at first that kind of, to me, felt like it confirmed the imposter syndrome, that they didn't see that I was doing badly.
Yeah.
But then after discussing it with them and talking about them, and my supervisor giving me very good and positive feedback, I kind of started to realize, okay, maybe I am doing okay.
Because now you are working at Picnic for, over 2 years. So the first review is, 1.5 years ago, approx. How is it now? How do you experience it now, looking when a new review is coming?
Yeah. So, for example, for the last review that I had, which was only a month ago, I really thought, like, when I was doing the assessment, I was like, okay, now I'm going to be actually super honest, give myself credit, and rate myself, highly where I think I deserve it. And then it came to review time, and the same thing happened again.
Okay.
But there was a huge difference in how I rated myself and how my supervisor rated me. And I think at that point, it was maybe a bit less about me being confident, and more about the questions are all phrased in a way that there's a specific, like a topic or a component of how you work. And for example, one might be like presenting yourself or presenting at work. And then you're supposed to rate yourself on a scale of not like bad to good, but like exceeds expectations or meets expectations. And I think maybe I just have too high expectations of myself. So I rated myself as maybe a 3, which is meets expectations, for something where I was like, I'm doing great, but I'm not doing excellent.
I'm not, yeah.
So I could be doing more.
Yeah.
While maybe what is, the expectation of the assessment is more like the expectation of the role, like how am I expected to do in the role?
Yeah.
And then if I'm doing great, maybe I am actually exceeding the expectations because I'm beyond just the average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you, experience negative consequences about, this imposter syndrome, you have sometimes?
Well, I mean, there are personal negative consequences that I feel, I feel bad and I feel less confident and I feel like I have to kind of work extra hard to make up for it. But I mean, in actual negative consequences, like externally, there wasn't that much because, it turned out
in a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way
Yeah.
that actually, I was doing great.
Yeah, but internally, looking at your inner dialogue, something there are things happening.
Yeah.
Can you give some examples of thoughts or feelings that are coming up when you're in such a situation?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I have anything like specific or concrete. It was just this like generic overall feeling of I'm not doing as good as I should be, and they're gonna find out, and then I have to try and like hide it somehow, or like either hide it or kind of work harder to meet what I think is expected of me, and that just like a general feeling of feeling bad and not anxious necessarily, but just like not confident in my ability to do what I should be doing.
Yeah, and worried about it maybe.
Yeah.
In the end, yeah. So one of the strategies is working harder, and one of the other strategies is hiding.
Yeah.
What do you do when you hide? Do you know?
Well, one of the things is, for example, not reaching out when I have issues with something.
Asking for help.
Asking for help, and like not doing it until I really, really know that I need it. Or somehow conversely asking too often for help just to be like extra sure that what I'm doing is the correct thing. Checking in way too often. Like,
nice reflection.
Is this okay? Is this okay?
Yeah.
Should I be doing this?
Yeah.
And one thing I've also noticed so we do a lot of code reviews.
Yeah.
So we review someone else's code and then someone reviews our code. And when I was doing code reviews, I would always write everything in very reserved way. So I would add a bunch of question marks and I would be like, maybe, possibly, could it be that this
carefully
might
formulated.
be a good idea? In case that if it isn't a good idea, I won't be perceived as badly as I would think if I say this is the right way and then it turns out to be the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, this also, like, sometimes it's just helpful to be more assertive because then that also might help the other person consider my viewpoint more fairly.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And what would you consider as because you're still, in the process, making steps already, I guess. But what would you consider as a first step towards reaching a goal in, being, completely confident about yourself regarding work performance? What is it? Do you know?
So for me, at least, I think this first review that I had was the kind of trigger to me to realize that I had imposter syndrome and I needed to work on it. And for me, at least, what helps a lot is getting positive feedback often and getting this
as a confirmation.
This like affirmation that I am doing good. And I think what also helps a lot is hearing how other people struggle. Because that is also, with imposter syndrome, you can so often feel alone. You feel like everyone around me is so smart, everyone knows what they're doing, and I'm the only one struggling. But hearing that someone else is also struggling, that makes it feel like, oh, okay, maybe this is just a normal, everyone feels this way.
Yeah. Is it something that you recognize with colleagues or friends in your personal life?
Yeah, so I mean, we have we have a group within Picnic that is Picnic Tech Ladies, basically the female developers female, women who are working in tech. And we've done sessions on imposter syndrome where we shared experiences and talked about it.
Yeah,
and that was really helpful because then we could all see that like all of us had at least at some point in our lives struggled with these kind of thoughts struggled with this low confidence, and then it helped a lot to both hear that other people were struggling with this, but then also to get good advice from everyone else.
And that it feels safe to open up as well, I can imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, I want to emphasize that if you want to, we can of course discuss this more briefly in an open up session. Yeah. But also for the tech ladies at Picnic or maybe other colleagues, we are very happy to help if they have a question about mental health or are just curious about the support Open Up can offer. For now, I want to thank you. One last question to finish the video. Yes. What would be the advice you have for others regarding the imposter syndrome?
So, as I said, there's these two things that help me. So getting the positive feedback and hearing about others. So I think a big thing is, opening up to talk with someone, even if it's not someone at Open Up or if it's not like a bigger session, just talking with a colleague, honestly, saying I'm struggling with this, and then you can hear either, have solidarity with them, that maybe they're feeling the same, or then they can help you they can give you like an outsider perspective of how you're doing, and they can say, actually, you're doing great. Yeah. And I think that is like a very good first step to reach out to someone, just one person, and ask them for help.
Thank you for making this very specific and a step a little bit smaller maybe as well. Yeah, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.